Sarah Bennett sank into the cramped aisle seat with a sigh that rattled her entire frame. Her arms throbbed from cradling 2-year-old Liam through the airport's winding terminals, and her back protested under the weight of her shoulder bag. She glanced at the sharply dressed man in the window, acetylene and composed, fingers dancing over a sleek smartphone. His crisp white shirt and tailored slacks spoke of privilege she'd only glimpsed in glossy magazines. Sarah didn't care. All she wanted was a moment's rest. "Sorry, sweetie," she murmured as Liam squirmed free of her arms and pressed his chubby cheek against hers. The toddler yawned, eyelashes fluttering. Sarah caught his gaze, forcing a gentle smile. "Just a nap, okay?" She rested his head on her shoulder, heart pounding as she tried to straighten her spine enough to keep him from sliding off. The man glanced up, against teal-grey eyes tracing her exhaustion, or perhaps merely registering her existence. He gave a curt nod, then returned to his screen. Sarah exhaled, tension easing when she felt the gentle hum of the aircraft's engines lulling Liam toward sleep. Exhaustion tugged at her eyelids. She whispered a quick prayer for 5 minutes, of shut-eye, closed her eyes, and drifted off. Sarah woke to the unfamiliar sensation of her head resting on a broad shoulder. She jerked upright, heart hammering. Liam was gone, vanished from her arms. Panic seared through her. "He's gone," she whispered, voice trembling. "Where's my baby?" Before she could scramble to stand, she felt weight shift beside her. The stranger's strong arms cradled Liam, whose small face was calm in sleep. The man caught her eye and, in a voice both smooth and unhurried, said, "He fussed. I didn't want to wake you." Sarah's throat closed. "You him," he offered Liam back with surprising tenderness. "Here." She reached for him, chastened and grateful, brushing a tuft of dark hair from his forehead. "Thank you," she whispered. Liam stirred, blinking up at the stranger's face. A small smile curved the man's lips as he tucked Liam closer to his chest. "I'm Damon," he said, as if introducing an old friend. "Sarah," she managed, settling back down. The seatbelt light still glowed. The plane cruised steadily. Around them, passengers stirred, oblivious to the small miracle that had passed. Sarah's desperate need, met by Damon's simple kindness, at the jet bridge. Sarah collected her belongings. Liam strapped into his stroller. Damon hovered near the door. "You okay?" he asked, brow knit with quiet concern. She forced a nod. I think so." He hesitated a moment, then said, "Can I give you a ride? I live nearby." His words made Sarah's pulse spike. A chauffeur-driven black sedan waited on the tarmac beyond the exit. She glanced between Damon and the car, bag at her feet. I wouldn't want to impose." Her voice was small. He smiled, tipping his head. "You already trusted me with your son. Let me drive you home." She hesitated only a heartbeat longer. The thought of managing bus fare plus 2 transfers with a toddler, no thank yous or polite protests mattered. Sarah nodded and trudged after him, Liam's little fingers curling around her index. Sliding into the back seat of the sedan, Sarah pressed Liam to her side. Damon settled next to them, eyes on the road. For a moment, silence draped the three of them, punctuated only by Liam's soft babbling. "Your son's name is Liam?" Damon asked quietly. Sarah nodded. "After my dad. He passed when Liam was born." Damon's jaw tightened, sympathy flickering in his gaze. "I'm sorry." She offered a small smile. "Thank you." They rode in wordless companionship until Sarah spotted her apartment building's pale brick facade. She swallowed a lump in her throat. Here, the world was back to reality-tight budgets, long hours, and constant worry. Damon parked. He looked at her expectantly. "Can we share a meal? I want to hear more about you." Sarah's pulse thundered. "Dinner," her voice caught. He nodded. "Just dinner, no expectations." She hesitated, scanning the block's grimy pavement. Then she thought of Liam's peaceful sleep, her drained body, and the warmth she'd felt at Damon's side. "Okay," she whispered. They walked into Laza, a softly lit bistro tucked between glass towers. Sarah tugged Liam's hat brim low. She felt overdressed and underprepared. Damon ushered them to a secluded table. A waiter bowed respectfully, handing Damon menus that shimmered with exotic dishes. Sarah stared at the pages, jaws practically stretching around words she couldn't pronounce. "What is this?" she murmured. "It's French," Damon said, amusement in his voice. "We'll start with something simple." He ordered a vegetable risotto for her, filet mignon for himself, and chicken tenders for Liam. Sarah blinked. In surprise at his thoughtfulness, she expected a brusque business lunch, dry and polite. Instead, the evening unfolded in warm conversation, over forkfuls of creamy rice. Sarah described her life: 2 jobs, nights at the diner, and afternoons cleaning offices to scrape by. She told Damon about her parents' disappointment, the sting of loneliness, and the fierce love that kept her going. Damon listened, truly listened, leaning forward, brows drawn, brown eyes earnest. He asked questions. When did she first know she wanted to be a mom? What song made her heart soar? What dream had she given up? Sarah's voice trembled at the word dream. I wanted to be a teacher, she admitted. But then, life. He touched her hand across the table. You still teach every day, teaching Liam to believe in love. She swallowed hard, emotion pooling. Liam gurgled, dropping a tender onto the floor. Damon scooped him up, tucking him under his arm. Liam's laughter spilled out, and Sarah laughed too. The first genuine sound she'd made in years. By the time they left the restaurant, the sky had turned to velvet black. Streetlights gleamed. Sarah pushed Liam's stroller, Damon trailing a step behind, umbrella raised. He paused at her doorstep. Double quotes, thank you, she said softly. He inclined his head. May I call you? Yes. She fumbled for her phone. Handing it to him, he typed his number. Call me if you ever need help, he said. She tucked the phone into her pocket. He turned to leave, then paused. Sleep well, Sarah. His words lingered in the cool night air. Liam yawned, and Sarah carried him inside, closing the door gently. On the worn couch, she sank into cushions, hugging Liam close. Her mind replayed Damon's kindness, his steady presence. In the quiet, her heart dared to wonder, could this be more than a fleeting act of generosity? Unseen across town, Damon slipped into his sleek sedan, phone in hand. He stared at her name on the screen, Sarah Benethan, back at the road ahead, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Tomorrow, he thought, tomorrow I'll see her again. 3 days passed. Sarah didn't expect anything beyond a few lingering memories. Damon had texted once, a simple hope: you and Liam got some rest. Let me know if you need anything. She hadn't replied. Not because she didn't want to, but because her reality hadn't changed. Bills still stacked on the counter. Her diner shift still ended with aching feet and a soggy apron. Damon felt like a beautiful glitch in the system. Not real, not sustainable. But the world had other plans. It started with a whisper. A co-worker at the diner paused mid-pour of coffee and whispered, "Is that her?" Then came the photos, shots of her entering Lazar with Damon, of them leaving together under a shared umbrella. The images spread like wildfire, slapped with headlines she hadn't asked for. Waitress to billionaire's new flame. Who was the single mom stealing Damon Blackwell's heart? At first, Sarah tried to ignore it, but the stares intensified. Tips dried up. Her manager pulled her aside. "Don't bring drama into the diner," he warned. "We're a family-friendly establishment." Her hands trembled as she washed dishes. She didn't feel famous, she felt exposed. Her phone buzzed constantly. Unknown numbers, interview requests, creeps offering business proposals. Then came the letter. It was slipped under her apartment door, sealed with her ex-husband's signature arrogance. Daniel had never shown interest in Liam, not at birth, not at birthdays. But now, he was requesting full custody. Sarah's knees buckled. She sat on the floor, reading it over and over, heart slamming against her ribs. The letter claimed she was placing Liam in an unstable, media-heavy environment and exposing him to inappropriate male figures. Her blood ran cold. She called Damon without thinking. "Hello." His voice was instant. "I need help," she whispered. He was at her door 20 minutes later. Damon read the letter in silence, eyes scanning slowly. His face gave nothing away, but Sarah felt his energy shift. "We'll handle it," he said finally. "I can't afford a lawyer like his," she said. "Daniel's family has money. He's going to bury me in legal paperwork." Damon stood and grabbed his phone. "You'll have the best lawyer in the city. Her name's Amelia Ford. She's smart, ruthless, and deeply allergic to men like Daniel." "Damon," she started. He turned to her, eyes unwavering. "You don't owe me anything, but no one's taking your son from you." Sarah sat in stunned silence, watching him text rapidly. Within an hour, Amelia had called, introduced herself, and scheduled an emergency meeting. The courtroom wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was worse. It was cold, sanitized. Sarah sat on the left bench in a borrowed blazer, hands clutching a worn notebook. Damon sat beside her in a charcoal suit, jaw tight, fingers drumming softly. Daniel entered like a man auditioning for sainthood, suit pressed, a faux smile on his lips. He waved slightly at the judge, as if greeting an old acquaintance. Sarah's stomach turned. He took the stand and began with practiced grief. "I've been worried for my son," he said. "Ever since I saw those pictures, that media attention, I just want to protect him." He talked about stability, about morals, about wanting to provide a home away from chaos. He didn't mention abandoning Liam for 2 years. He didn't mention the text messages he never answered. Sarah watched the judge's face carefully, neutral, non-committal. When it was her turn to testify, her throat tightened. "I've done everything for Liam since the day he was born," she said. "Everything I do, every hour I work, is for him. And Damon, you're romantically involved with Mr. Blackwell." Daniel's lawyer cut in. Sarah paused. "We've had dinner, he's been kind, that's all. And now your child is exposed to cameras, to press you. You consider that healthy?" Her eyes burned. "I didn't ask for the cameras. I didn't ask for any of this." The judge raised a hand. "Let's keep it focused." Damon stood next. There was a subtle shift in the room. People sat up straighter. He walked to the stand with quiet confidence and addressed the judge with calm authority. "Your Honor, I've spent time with Sarah and Liam. What I saw was a child deeply loved, and a mother making sacrifices most people couldn't imagine." "And your relationship with the mother?" the opposing lawyer asked. "I care about them," Damon said simply. "That child isn't in danger. He's thriving because of her." Even Daniel flinched. When Damon sat back down, Sarah stared at him in awe. His voice had carried no flair, no performance, just truth. Outside the courtroom, reporters waited. Sarah flinched at the flashing bulbs. Damon stepped in front of her and Liam, shielding them with his body. He said nothing, just held the umbrella over their heads and walked them straight to the car. Inside, Sarah collapsed against the seat. "I hate this," she said. "I hate being a headline." "You're not," Damon said softly. "You're a mother fighting for her son." She turned her head toward the window. Rain traced lines down the glass. Liam was already asleep in his car seat. "I don't think I can do this," she murmured. Damon looked at her for a long moment. "Come with me," he said. She blinked. "What? Just for a few days? No reporters, no court, just space. I can't just disappear." "Yes," he said. "You can, and you should." The lake house sat nestled between tall pines and the soft shimmer of water. Sarah had never seen anything so quiet. Liam ran through the grass, barefoot and giggling, chasing butterflies. Damon unpacked groceries and let her sleep the first full night she'd had in months. There was no schedule, no press, no questions, just fireflies, pancakes, warm mornings, and evenings on the porch. Damon taught Liam to skip rocks. Sarah sat on a blanket, watching the two of them, her heart aching with something she couldn't name yet. Peace, maybe. That night, wrapped in a sweater too large for her, she stood on the porch with a mug of tea. Damon joined her silently, placing a blanket around her shoulders. "I'm not used to this," she admitted. "To what? To someone taking care of me?" He didn't answer, just looked at her like she was something rare. And for the first time, Sarah let herself feel it. Let the idea of safety slip past her defenses. Let the weight she carried for so long ease, just a little. The lake house mornings were made of soft light and the smell of cinnamon pancakes. Sarah never imagined she'd feel at home in a place like this. Glass walls, pine floors, a lake that looked like silk, but Liam's laughter made it feel less foreign by the hour. Damon, barefoot and focused, flipped another misshapen pancake onto a plate and grinned. "Chef of the year," he said, as smoke curled from the pan. Sarah chuckled. "You're lucky he's two. No taste buds, no judgment." Liam banged his fork on the table. "Mo cake." Damon placed the plate in front of him with a mock bow. "Your wish, sir." Sarah leaned against the counter, smiling. Damon was still in sweatpants. She liked him this way, unguarded, imperfect, less billionaire, more man. That afternoon, they walked along the lake, while Liam chased a frog. Sarah tucked her hands into her cardigan and said, "You ever imagine this? Kids, pancakes, grass stains?" Damon paused. "I used to. Before everything got loud." She turned to him. "What got loud?" He hesitated. "Then, I had a brother. His name was Alex. Died when we were 10. After that, my parents turned to ice. Silence became the rule. And then came legacy, pressure, the machine. Sarah blinked, surprised. I'm sorry, I built walls, Damon said, concrete ones. Until I met you, and you fell asleep on my shoulder like you'd known me forever. She stared at him, heart pounding. He stopped walking. Sarah, I know your life is chaos right now, and I know this, he gestured between them, isn't simple, but I want to be here with you, with Liam, officially. She inhaled sharply. What are you saying? I'm saying I want a real commitment, he said. Not a secret, not a scandal, just us. She looked out at the water, so calm, so different from the world that waited beyond the trees. I'm scared, she whispered. I am too, he admitted. But I've never been more sure of anything in my life. They returned to the city 2 days later. Reality hit like a slap. Sarah's first day back at the diner was quiet to quiet until the lunch rush. When the doorbell chimed and Ava Blake walked in, Sarah recognized her instantly. Polished, poised, pretty, in that untouchable way. She didn't order food, just coffee. Black sat at the counter. You're Sarah, right? She said sweetly. Sarah wiped the counter, heart sinking. Can I help you? Ava leaned forward. You seem sweet, but Damon, he gets bored easily. It's not personal. He just likes new. Sarah's stomach clenched. If you came here to insult me, I came here to warn you. Ava took a sip of coffee, then slid a $100 bill across the counter. Don't get too comfortable. Fairy tales aren't for girls like you. She left with a swish of her designer heels. Sarah stood frozen. That night, she didn't answer Damon's call, or the one after that. She sat on the floor, back against the couch, watching Liam color his dinosaurs. Her heart pounded with confusion, shame, anger. What if Ava was right? The second court date arrived sooner than expected. Daniel had filed another motion, bolstered by media attention and Ava's subtle gossip campaign. But this time, Sarah didn't walk in alone. Damon arrived in a tailored navy suit, his lawyer, Amelia, by his side. He didn't try to touch Sarah. He just nodded respectfully like a teammate stepping into battle. Daniel's lawyer repeated the same arguments: instability, attention, influence. But this time, Amelia shredded them with evidence. School reports, pediatrician statements, even a written character reference from Sarah's elderly neighbor. Then Damon stood. I've spent real time with Liam, he said. He's bright, healthy, happy. Sarah isn't endangering him, she's saving him. She works double shifts to keep him fed. She chose to stay in her apartment when I offered something safer, because she didn't want him spoiled. She's not chasing money. She's protecting a child. The courtroom went silent. Even Daniel avoided his eyes. The judge, after a long pause, leaned forward. Ms. Bennett, he said, the court grants shared custody with primary placement under you. Mr. Harper will receive supervised visitation every second weekend. Sarah covered her mouth with both hands. Liam clapped beside her, unaware of the full weight of what had just been one dot. Daniel stormed out. Damon didn't follow him. He looked only at Sarah and smiled. Outside, reporters pressed against the steps. Flashbulbs exploded. Damon placed a firm hand on Sarah's back and shielded Liam from the lights. We're not giving interviews, he said calmly, guiding her to the car. Inside, Sarah stared at her reflection in the tinted window. I didn't think I'd win, she whispered. You didn't just win, Damon said. You proved to the world who you really are. She looked at him. That scares me. I know, he said, but I'm not scared of you. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Liam leaned against Damon's chest and yawned. Damon smiled down at him. We're in this together now, he said. Sarah nodded slowly. The fear in her chest didn't vanish, but it softened. Just a little. Maybe love didn't erase the hard parts. Maybe it just gave you someone to hold on to when the world tried to knock you down. The wedding was supposed to be small. Just close friends, a few trusted faces, and a garden tucked behind Damon's estate, surrounded by lanterns and magnolia trees. Sarah didn't want extravaganza justi peace, she sat crossly. On the carpet of Damon's guest room, a stack of wedding magazines unopened beside her. Liam was asleep in his room. The bouquet had been chosen. The dress had been altered. Everything was ready, but her mind was not. What if I mess this up? She whispered aloud, tracing the edges of a photo of her and Damon. She thought of the headlines, the whispers, the warnings from strangers and from herself. Then came the knock. When she opened the door, her heart dropped. Mom. Her mother stood in the hallway, clutching her purse like a shield, hair tied back. Cheap perfume. That same familiar, practiced smile. I saw you on the news, she said, stepping in like it was nothing. Thought we should reconnect. Sarah didn't move. Years of silence and shame crawled down her spine. I'm getting married, she said, emotion tight in her throat. I know, that's why I came. Sarah crossed her arms. You kicked me out when I got pregnant. Her mother's smile faltered. I was scared, and I didn't know what else to do. He told me Liam was a mistake. Silence. Finally, her mother looked away. People change. Some doors, Sarah said quietly, stay closed for a reason. Her mother left without protest. Sarah closed the door and leaned against it, breath shaky. She didn't tell Damon. She didn't want her pain to dim the joy they were trying to build. A few days later, she was at the apartment when her phone buzzed. The message was short. Have you seen this? Attached was a link. She clicked. A video auto-played. Damon and Sarah, standing in the hallway outside her apartment weeks ago, laughing. He leaned in. She kissed him. A second later, the camera zoomed. The image shook slightly, clearly, taken in secret. Her face paled. It had over 300,000 views. The comments were vile. Gold digger caught in action. Kids probably not even his. She played him. Sarah couldn't breathe. She sank to the floor, shaking. She called Damon. He answered immediately. I saw it, he said before she could speak. I didn't even know someone recorded it. I know. Come here, please. When she arrived at his place, his security team was already investigating. The media camped outside the gates like vultures. Damon found her in the guest room, curled on the edge of the bed. I can't do this, she whispered. Every time I feel okay, something else explodes. Damon sat beside her. Then let's take control of the story. She looked up, hollow. What does that mean? The next morning, Damon sat in front of a national morning show host. He wore no tie, just a soft grey shirt and a determined face. I'm not a man who makes decisions lightly, he said, and I've never loved anyone the way I love Sarah. Anyone questioning that can come ask me directly. The host blinked, caught off guard. He continued, she didn't take anything from me. I offered her a life, because she's everything I didn't know I was missing. By afternoon, the backlash had split down the middle. Some people still threw stones, but others began to defend her. Sarah read the comments quietly, while Liam napped beside her. Maybe they're actually in love. He could have anyone. He chose her. She closed the screen and curled beside her son. For the first time in weeks, she slept, but the calm didn't last. Damon was out for a morning run. He hadn't returned by noon. His phone was still on the kitchen counter. Sarah paced the living room. Something was wrong. Then the door opened. Damon stepped in, pale and sweating. I'm fine, he said, stumbling slightly. Sarah rushed to him. No, you're not. He tried to wave her off, but she was already grabbing her keys. The hospital ran every test. Damon didn't resist. Hours later, a doctor came in with a chart and a grave face. You've been pushing your heart too hard, he said. You have a condition, genetic, but manageable. If you keep ignoring stress, it won't stay manageable. Sarah sat beside the bed, numb. Damon stared at the ceiling. Money couldn't even buy me a healthy heart. She took his hand. But you have a life, and people who love you, so don't waste it pretending you're invincible. He turned to her slowly, eyes red. Don't leave, he said. I'm not going anywhere, she whispered. They delayed the wedding by a week. Nothing drastic, just enough time to breathe. Damon reduced his work schedule, hired a second spent his afternoons reading with Liam and taking long walks with Sarah. The press moved on. For now, on the morning of the ceremony, the sky was soft and silver. Rain had threatened but never came. Lanterns flickered among the trees. White petals lined the aisle. There was no orchestra, no cameras, just peace. Sarah stood behind the oak archway, Liam holding her hand. Her dress was simple, hugging her gently, her hair pinned with tiny pearls. You ready, Mama? Liam asked, eyes wide. She smiled. I think so. As they stepped into the aisle, Damon turned, his breath caught. He wasn't looking at a guest, or a headline, or a question mark. He was looking at his home. When she reached him, he took Liam's hand to. The officiant smiled. A family begins today, not with perfection, but with choice. Their vows were quiet. Trembling. Damon promised to love her, even when the world didn't understand. Sarah promised to choose him, even on the hard days. When they kissed, Liam clapped loudly and shouted, "Again." Everyone laughed. Sarah looked up at the sky, not one cloud in sight. 1 year later, their lives weren't quiet, but they were theirs. There was still paparazzi sometimes. Reporters still lingered near the diner or parked outside Liam's preschool in tinted window vans. But the frenzy had dulled. Interest moved on, as it always did. Sarah had learned to keep her head high and her heart grounded. That was the deal. When you love in the spotlight, you learn how to walk through it without burning. Their home was no longer Damon's sterile estate. It was a house they picked together. 2 stories with peeling shutters and a backyard where Liam could dig for worms. There was a dented coffee machine in the kitchen and a leaky faucet Sarah kept forgetting to call someone about. But there was also laughter and warmth. And us. Damon's office now had a second desk, a tiny one, built just for Liam, who insisted on working next to Daddy. Most days, Damon gave in. The 2 of them sat side by side, one negotiating contracts, the other coloring in dinosaurs with intense concentration. Sarah watched from the doorway sometimes, one hand over her heart. She had fought for this, and won, but peace never lasted forever. The new letter arrived in a thick white envelope, hand-delivered by a courier who barely looked her in the eye. Sarah recognized the lawyer's name immediately. Daniels, again. Another custody motion. This time, the argument had shifted. Daniel now claimed Sarah's current life was excessive, that the overexposure and celebrity adjacency were psychologically harmful to Liam. "He's trying again," Sarah said, handing the letter to Damon. He read it slowly. "He won't win, but he keeps trying." Damon set the letter down. "Then we'll keep fighting." The court hearings dragged on for months. Daniel now played the role of the calm, concerned father with polished statements and calculated apologies. He claimed to want a more stable upbringing for Liam and referenced unpredictable public exposure and a media whirlwind as threats to the child's development. Sarah held back tears through most of it. She was tired, not just physically soul-tired, tired of defending the legitimacy of her love, her family, her motherhood. Damon wasn't just beside her this time. He was with her. He took the stand and said, "Liam is my son. He may not carry my name legally, but he carries my heart, my habits, my jokes, my bedtime stories. I didn't ask for fatherhood. It found me on a plane, and I will protect this boy and his mother until the day I stop breathing." Even the court stenographer paused for a second. The verdict came. 2 weeks later, Daniel's motion was denied again. The judge added stronger protections, including restrictions on Daniel's media involvement and limited supervised visitation, citing emotional instability. When the ruling was read, Sarah didn't cry. She simply closed her eyes, breathed in deep, and squeezed Liam's tiny hand beside her. It was over. For now, that night, they didn't celebrate with champagne or dinner parties. They made grilled cheese sandwiches, watched cartoons on the floor, and let Liam fall asleep with crumbs on his shirt. Sarah curled up on the couch, her head on Damon's chest. "I don't feel triumphant," she said. "You don't have to," he replied. "You just have to feel safe." She nodded. Safe. That was enough. A few weeks later, while cleaning out a drawer in their bedroom, Sarah found a small, folded envelope tucked between 2 books. Her name was written across it in Damon's handwriting. She opened it slowly. Inside was a letter. The paper slightly creased, the ink faded. "Dear Sarah, even though I didn't know your name yet, tonight you fell asleep on my shoulder. You looked like someone who'd been through fire and was still carrying the smoke. But you also looked peaceful. I didn't want to move. I didn't want the moment to end. I don't know why it hit me like that. I've seen 1,000 people on flights, but none of them looked like you. None of them made me wonder what it would take to help them rest. I don't even know if we'll speak after this, but something tells me I'm supposed to remember you, that you're not just passing through ****. Sarah's hands trembled as she read it again. Slower this time. When she looked up, Dame stood in the doorway. "You wrote that the night we met," she said. He nodded. "I didn't plan to keep it, but I couldn't throw it away either." She stepped forward and placed a kiss on his cheek. "You didn't just help me rest," she said. "You gave me a place to belong." That weekend, they took Liam to the park. No photographers, no headlines, just grass, a worn blanket, and peanut butter sandwiches. Damon helped Liam climb the jungle gym while Sarah watched from a bench. She caught herself smiling for no reason at all. A young woman passed by with a camera and paused. "I'm sorry," she said shyly. "Can I take a picture? You all look real." Sarah exchanged a glance with Damon. He gave a small nod. Woman clicked one photo. Later it appeared online, not in tabloids, but in a quiet photo blog under the title, "Family." No names, no headlines, just a caption. "Sometimes, love finds you mid-flight." That night, Sarah tucked Liam in, Hune, curled up beside a stuffed frog, and looked at Damon sleepily. "Night-night, Daddy." Damon froze. It was the first time he'd said it without being prompted. He knelt beside the bed, hand trembling slightly. "Night-night, buddy." Liam closed his eyes. Sarah stood in the hallway, one hand over her mouth, heart bursting. Damon joined her quietly. "He called me that," he whispered. "I heard," she said, eyes shining. They didn't speak for a while. They just stood there in the doorway, watching the boy who had changed their lives. Later that night, wrapped in blankets on the porch, Sarah leaned into Damon's side. "Do you ever think about that flight?" she asked softly. He chuckled. "All the time," she smiled. "Fate?" He shook his head. "No," he said. "Destiny." With a bit of turbulence, she laughed, pulling the blanket tighter. And under a quiet sky, with a boy they both loved, asleep upstairs, they let the world spin without them. For once, it could spin alone. They were exactly where they needed to be, together, if you made it to the end. Comment the word destiny, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends and family.